call the roll. At 6 p.m. Here. Here. Present. Here. Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at 6:01, we'll open a public hearing for an application for a specific use permit for the property located at 314 Joyce, Lacy Lakeview. Is anyone here to speak on that? All right, we will close the hearing at 6:01. Move on to Article 5. Item 5, presentation and discussion of the street bond progress presented by Walker Partners at Atmos Inc. Gentlemen?
We're just going to hand out some overall exhibits to the council here, just kind of showing the limits of the project that we're working on. As was mentioned, this is for the street bond project. In general, the project will span Walnut Street, Donald Street, and Virginia Street. The limits of Walnut will run from Craven all the way back to Crest. And Donald, it's going to go down from the dead end there to Conway, back up to Walnut, and then Virginia runs all the way from Crest back to the end there to Smith. And so we were asked just to come to give kind of a general overview of the project, current status, where we're at, what has gotten us to this point. And so this project, from a design standpoint, it started there in 2024. Really got into 2025. And that's really when we started diving into the design of the project. Overall, the streets were chosen kind of the condition of the streets as they are. One of the main concerns we have is overall drainage. They presented a lot of challenges overall from a drainage standpoint, trying to get that water actually off those streets. The other thing that we worked through a lot of was the franchise utilities that we had overall on what their impact is to the project and the work that they're going to be doing. But all of these streets, we had franchise utilities and then we have a lot of other franchise utilities by way of the Concord Tower. So we've been coordinating with all of them, spanning back to ensure that everybody that's there leads the price of the in today's world, with all the things ongoing challenge, that all of the facilities that are there remain permanent. We've done a lot of legwork on that, like I said, spanning back to just a little bit more backstory on streets in general. So Walnut is roadway work right along the that road will go back to pavement section. And then Donald, initially at the onset of this project, anticipated reason for all of that is because which has some problem though with Conway's one spot. That was added in as a change necessary design. Virginia is also going to be an asphalt street. Aside from two locations of Virginia, challenges with TxDOT, the tying of TxDOT, some ground changes there are working through the but there is anticipated likely to be a concrete section through Crest on that little spot right there, and also Exxon gas. Further towards the back, near Smith, that we will be doing Exxon on, there's standards and their requirements. So I guess from there, I'm going to pass it over to Atlas.
Yeah, I do have a question. I think this is my sense of where the city resident would be is, we had this election 2 years ago. What's taking so long?
Yeah.
And, of course, we had the election in May, and then it didn't fund until the end of July, right? And so we didn't actually get the money until August. So y'all have had it since August until now, about 18 months or thereabouts.
Yes, sir.
Why does it take so long for civil engineering to get done?
So at the onset, we go out and we do a topographic survey every year. And that obviously takes time to obtain that information and reduce that down to something that we can digest and use our design on. And then we started our design on the project. We also started doing throughout that, there's a lot of design iterations, especially for city staff, on what is necessary to meet locating utilities, determining all of our design plans. As I mentioned, these streets are extremely flat and historically have so probably the biggest constraint that we've had is the grades. So that took a lot of it. And secondarily, the constraint of franchise utilities in these locations are always something that we have to deal with. We need to make sure that we get franchise utilities out of the game prior to the onset of this component of the project. A multitude of issues that city's contractors on board, a large portion of the time is spent coordinating with everybody, emergency control, then also designing their own relocation plans, sending those back over, having them eventually on top of that, we have had a lot of text both of these, really, all three of the streets, Highland, Textile, in some way, shape, or form. So we've had multiple meetings and a lot of protocol conversations. What we're doing, they're good with, and all of that. So there's been a lot of, obviously, work in the background. But there's been a lot of work done such that we can start physically.
And a lot of work on a $9.5 million project. How many dollars have been spent thus far? Or what will the total engineering bill be? Approximately.
I don't have that number off the top of
You know what that number is?
You know, I was thinking it was between 800,000 and 900,000.
Usually runs
Yeah.
near 8.
that sounds right.
So about $800,000. Took you 18 months to spend $800,000.
Exactly.
He said he could do it quicker.
But I mean, in all honesty, there has been a considerable amount of work, done up to this point. Both things. We've been working that entire time to make sure that everything works. And trying to avoid been, like I said, countless meetings, conversations, everything associated with it. When we get in there,
So where are we at on EPA compliance with deadline, finish date?
so EPA at this point is, I guess it's dependent upon franchise. And that's what happens this year. Kind of get the backstory on how much of their line they may be replacing utilize. But overall, that really is one of the main ones, is getting all the franchise. We've had conversations about when that needs to happen, and that's really the discussion where we're at. The anticipation would be that within the next couple of months, we have all the information from the utilities. Because at that point, this many relocations. Most of that is
When the shovel hits the road, how much longer?
when the shovel hits the road, we anticipate finalizing by 18 months.
And, are we going to be in budget?
Right now our estimate's at about $1.5 million, which is a little bit higher than it was many months ago. We did have some design changes, mainly being done on the reclamation. But yes,
And also, just so that the citizens understand, where are all the utilities underneath the road, correct? That's why we're having to have sewage and water line and all that stuff involved, right?
for the most part, some of the franchise utilities are currently outside the road, but they have a service line across the road. So if their main lines obviously run on one side of the road, then you have a service line that goes across. To that point, most of the utilities that are in there, the two that are really large locations, Atlas and Fiberlight. Fiberlight has over a million fiber lines that runs the entire route, all the way from Crest back to Tracy. So they've actually been out doing full investigation and some their relocation. Encore will have a couple of power poles that will be relocated. We're gonna be reconstructing, but the two main would be Atlas and Fiberlight. Yes, that's really almost, well, all of the city utilities are under those replacements will be full-on major replacements, service lines back to same thing on the sewer. Because of the grade challenges, there is limited amount of sewer drains in all of these locations. When you stick something over there, we were limited in what we could use for storm drains. Not entirely. Some will go, Walnut has three separate home spots. One is back at Crest. The second one is through about midway, mid-block of Walnut. That pool you mentioned goes to and then the third low spot goes to Virginia. So that one, that area goes to the other area goes to Virginia, all of that flow eventually makes it back to Texas Highway.
And then for those of us involved in construction, it's really hard to see ramp over there. It's less than 3 miles street, so it's 4 years.
Understood. And like I mentioned, a lot of back and forth on this one, mainly related to grade. All the external.
Good afternoon, council. City, thank y'all very much for allowing us to come out here today and speak with y'all. We greatly appreciate it. Before we kind of begin talking about the research on a little bit about some of the things we do here. First and foremost, my name is Craig Chase. I'm operations supervisor out here in Waco. With me today, I have Loretta Thornton. She's the engineer on deck for this project. With that, if you would go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit, just kind of in general what we do, right? So, everybody knows natural gas, right? Use it, cook with it. One of the big things that happens is from the bottom, day one tire, to the top you see, safe, hands there. It's safe, in and around every single day. Our vision is to be the safest natural gas provider, hands there, no other way around. And like you brought up with y'all's pre-improvement, one of those things is how much we're going to invest in our infrastructure to improve it. Fortunately, with the areas that you guys are going to be working on, this is an opportunity for us to definitely bring those up, replace that dated infrastructure, and make it new. So with that, I'm going to say last 10 years, Atmos spent about $10 billion on infrastructure improvements. With that, this upcoming 5 years, we're looking at spending close to $24 billion. So I mean, that's a tremendous amount of how much we're devoting just to improve our system and make sure it's a safer system. So next thing I want to go into, kind of some basic, you mentioned, Mayor, earlier about construction. A lot of us know construction, right? But I just want the city's members, y'all be aware what y'all might be seeing, right? So basic common grounds of what things mean, right? Yellow, obviously, is natural gas. Of course, you see yellow paint, it means natural gas. Red out on the ground, flags, power, typically encore or something of that nature. Water, of course, we can associate with blue, green being your sewer. Any white can go through a proposed state. You might see it from a survey, things of that nature. And then last but not least is your pink, which would be temporary, as well as survey markings or temporary markings. I say all that because as we perform our work and we go in to redo this system or replace it more or less, you're going to see all of these in your yard. You're going to see them in the city. You're going to see them in the streets. You're going to see them on the sidewalks. So just be aware that's part of us ensuring that those utilities are located and ensuring we do not damage those utilities in our construction process. So aware, like I said, just a little bit of awareness. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Loretta. She's going to speak to you a little bit about the project design and statement. Thank you.
So this project is going to consist of 3 phases. Phase 1 is going to be on Virginia Drive, as you see on the screen. So this is going to be about 2,100 feet of replacement that we're going to be doing. So on the screen, you can see that construction will begin May 4th. I just want to clarify, we have a couple prerequisites that we do. We're going to have the city locates done to make sure we're aware of where the water and sewer lines are. We're going to have staking done for the right-of-way. And then the construction crew will actually be out there to start May 11th. So the first thing they're going to do is put door tags on everybody's door. So that way you're aware of the construction. There's a number on there for you to call if you have any questions. So they're going to make every person who's affected by this aware ahead of time before you actually even see any ground or anything being torn up and any construction start. So that's going to be their very first thing on every single phase. So then phase 2 is going to be Walnut Street, but we split it up into 2 sections just because of how long Walnut Street is. So phase 2 is going to be from the Craven to Avenue C. That's going to be about 2,900 feet of replacement. And then phase 3 is from Avenue C to Avenue, or to Crest, with a little bit of work on Avenue A. That's about 2,300 feet of replacement. So the phases are going to be in numerical order. We're going to start at phase 1 and finish phase 1 before we get to phase 2, and so forth. So we're going to put everything back how we found it. We're not going to leave yards torn up or anything like that. We're going to make sure to put it better than we found it, is how we like to say it. So that's kind of all I have right now. I just want to reiterate, phase 1 full construction contractors out on the ground will be May 11th. Any questions?
And this construction work y'all are doing is not part of our bond. This is, y'all are doing this at y'all's, at most expense, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is tunneling, right? It's not digging up the street and
Yes, so all of our main installation will be bore, and I can tell you that currently, as he spoke earlier, all our gas facilities are under the street. Once we go back, they will be behind the curb. But to your point, yes, sir, they are absolutely. They will be directional drilled in. Of course, you'll see multiple holes in that route, obviously exposing all those utilities with sewer, water, all the existing gas. But yes, nothing will be open.
Okay. But so the work will be occurring in someone's front yard from their perspective, even though it's in a right of way?
That is correct,
But it
yes,
is,
sir.
it's in their front yard?
But it is, yes, but it's in the right of way, correct.
We sure hate to damage those nice roads.
Oh, and one thing I wanted to add, it'll be about 2 to 3 months of construction per phase.
So theoretically, possibly by the end of the year?
Yes, sir.
So,
And then it goes to bid? And then it goes to bid? After that? When does it go to bid?
Those are the discussions, we haven't landed on a true advertisement schedule
Okay.
yet. The discussion that we've had, that I've had with Calvin is, at what point do we want to bid the project? Meaning, once Atmos has finished phase one, would we want to go ahead and bid the project, or do we wait until they're through with phase one and phase two? And like I mentioned, that all is aimed at trying to mitigate future problems while we're actually in construction. Because what we have, run into fairly regularly, unfortunately, it seems to become having been, I guess, more common over the last probably 5 years. Our conflicts while we're actually in construction with the franchise utilities, and those typically don't go very well, because at that point, city contractor is under contract to perform the work, and they're out there trying to make money. And so when they get delayed, then you end up with delay claims and all that. So we haven't landed on an actual date yet as to when we think. And then on top of that, here in the next month, we'll kind of see how Atmos' contractor starts to work and progress on phase one at least. And then we can kind of gauge as to how, phase two and phase three will continue to operate. So that's still a little bit up in the air, but the anticipation would be sometime within the next 3 to 6 months that we would be advertising the project and then, awarding that project to contractor.
Make sure oil's at $30 a barrel.
Yeah. That has come up as well. Not the best time to bid right now.
Yeah.
And Mayor, one of the talks also was mobilization. For these companies to come out, we need to have enough work for them to do. So, mobilization, they have to get their equipment there. So,
Has to be ready for them
it has
to
to be
work,
ready to go when they get there.
40 hours a week, not a day here and a day there. Correct.
so basically what you're saying is they're gonna wanna do the whole project all at once instead of in phases like Atmos is doing.
That's some of the discussion we're talking
Yeah,
about.
so we're gonna set it up to match Atmos' phasing. So really the way it worked was we set our phasing up, and then Atmos said, okay, we'll follow the same phasing that you have. So our intended path is to start on Virginia, just like Atmos would, and then we'll move down to Donald, because that's the low spot, and then we can go from Donald back up Walnut towards Crest. With the city construction, it'll obviously consist of multiple different crews, and typically on a project like this, you'll end up with a prime contractor that either specializes in utilities or roadway, one of the two, and they'll self-perform that, and then they sub out what their specialty is not. So we'll have utilities that come in and get replaced prior to the roadway construction coming back in, and then once they finish on Virginia, then those roadway crews will be moving down to Donald. And that's where the conversation has kind of sat in terms of when do we advertise the project, because the utility crew will come through, but they'll need to move onto phase two before the roadway contract will be able to move to phase two. So we're trying to kind of toe that line, if you will, of doing it in the proper time without creating more issues while we're.
It's not like golf, they can't play through.
Correct.
Yeah.
When they get stuck, they're usually not very happy about it,
Yeah.
and that's when everything turns a little south, so that's what we're trying to mitigate.
Any other questions? Thank you. very
Thank
much.
you.
6:26, we'll recess work session and convene to regular session. We're going to move the agenda from item 8 next, so that our contractor can get on the road. He has a long drive to Victoria tonight through possibly stormy weather. So discussion and consideration of an action to accept the fiscal year 2024-2025 audit as presented by Chris Janacek with Paul B. Home and Company, PLLC. Do we hear a motion?
Sorry, we're already moving it. I move to approve the actions to accept the fiscal year 2024-2025 audit as presented by Chris Janacek with Paul B. Home and Company, PLLC.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please feel free.
As you said, my name is Chris Janacek. This is a third, fourth year now to do the audit, something like that. Everything went smooth. Most cities want to know, how things went. Working with Amber's been great. It just gets better every year. We're on the same page, so we'll get that out of the way there. First thing, we'll start on page 1, and I'll go through it fairly quickly. If you need me to stop or have questions, feel free to let me know. Page 1 is the independent auditor's report. There in the second paragraph, it says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the city in general. That's called an unmodified opinion. That's the best opinion we can give. A set of financial statements basically says there's no more changes that need to be made for them to be fairly presented. Following that paragraph, there's the basis for the opinion, responsibility of management, responsibility of the auditor, and then just information about the required supplementary and other information. This is just required parts of the letter. Then on pages 4 through 13, that's called the management discussion and analysis. Essentially kind of a recap of what we're going to cover. And it's a bit simplified, so if you need to look at something on your own, that may be where you can start. There's also comparisons from year over year, or from year to year, to kind of see what the changes are from the 24 year to the 25 year. But we're going to get started over on page 14. This is the statement of net position. It's basically like a balance sheet. It's got the a snapshot of what was present at 9/30/25. And we'll just go down the totals on the far right column, which includes governmental and the business type activities. So cash and cash equivalents about 14.4, receivables a little under 1.1 million, restricted cash 933. So our total current assets are sitting at about 16.5 million. Capital assets, net of depreciation, that's infrastructure, buildings, equipment, those type of things, 18 million. Right of use assets, starting last year, we have to capitalize and present the value of the assets that are being leased. That's the 688,000. So our total non-current assets are at 18.7 million, bringing the total assets to just under 35.2. Below that, we've got the deferred outflow of resources. That's related to the TMRS and other pension benefits, a little under 1.1 million. Below that, we've got our liabilities. Accounts payable, 170. Other accrued liabilities, 237. Current portion of long-term debt, that's the portion that's due within a year of the statement of net position date, that's 843. Short-term right-of-use assets liability, that's the amount of lease payments that are due over the next year, it's 198. And the customer deposits are at 319,000, so total current liabilities at 1.8 million. Below that, we've got our net pension liability of $1 million, net OPEB liability 145. Long-term debt, that's the portion that's due more than a year out from the statement of net position date, 15.4 million. And then we've got our long-term right-of-use assets. That's the lease liabilities, the longer-term lease liabilities of about 490,000. So that brings our total liabilities to about 18.9 million. Over on page 15, our deferred inflows related to TMRS and other pension benefits is 1.3 million. And then we come down to the net position, basically the equity of the city. Net investment in capital assets, 11 million. Restricted for various items, 1.9 million. And the unrestricted portion is 3.1 million. So the total net position is 16.1 million. Page 16, this is a statement of activities. It's basically the income statement of the city. It's kind of an odd format that it's required to be presented in, but we'll kind of go over what we can here. Kind of middle left side, governmental expenses, expenses for the governmental activities. General government, 1.2 million. Public safety, 3.3. Public transportation, 737. Community court, 153. Cultural recreation, 590. And then interest and fiscal charges, 499. So total governmental expenses, 6.5 million. Just to the right of that, total charges for services, 241. And then to the right of that, we've got the capital grants on the governmental side, 530, just under 532,000. Kind of in the middle left side, total expenses for the water and sewer, just over 4 million. Charges for services, just under 4 million. And then we'll kind of go on the far right side, property taxes, 3.2 million. Sales taxes, 2.3. Franchise taxes, 329. Other taxes, 394. Some permit income, investment income of 351. And then some other miscellaneous income of 102,000. So the total general revenues are at 6.9. And so the total change in net position, or basically the net income of the city for the year, is at 1.1 million. And that brings us down to the net position at year end of 16 million, which we looked at on the other pages. Pages 17 through 26 kind of roll, that's the governmental and utility fund side stuff that rolls up into what we covered. Then on pages 27 through 50, these are the notes to the financial statements. There's a lot of information there. Significant accounting policies, explanations of the funds. There's notes that detail the cash and other deposits, receivables. There's the details to the capital assets. Several pages related to the pension plan. And then it gets in towards the end, the details about the bonds and other debt, leases, and so forth. Pages 52 and 53 have budget to actual comparisons, followed by other lease information. And that's essentially, brings us to the end of the audit. As I said, everything went smoothly. Couldn't ask for any more out of Calvin or Amber. They turned information around quite quick for us, and that makes it a lot easier. Does anyone have questions?
I've got one question. The net change in position looked like, in essence, they added a little over $1 million to the net change, so they were within budget. Correct. Is that right?
Yeah, overall it's the 1.1 million. If you look at certain items, there may be some things that are
I'm just
over
talking overall.
Correct.
Overall net change.
Yes.
It looked like it was more from reduction of expenses than additional income.
Oh,
Did I read
man,
that
like
correct?
the details on that, I don't know if I
That
have
was
that
up on the
in
first
front of me.
page that you presented, if I read it right.
If you look at page 8, you can see that the changes from year over year. So
Yeah.
total revenue was 11.7 versus 10 million in the prior year. So expenses did go up and revenue went up, but overall expenses
Revenue
were
went
still
up
less than revenue. So
You would project an increase, or is there any projected budget? Is that balanced, or how do they do that?
that information I don't have in front of me.
Well, the budget will be balanced, meaning whenever, whatever revenue we receive, we budget the same expenses. So that's when it'll be balanced. Will it increase? That's just something that whenever we start having our meetings for our budget, which we have started interdepartmentally, but we will do a budget workshop within the next couple of months. And then we'll get into, with inflation, there will likely be a change, but I can't say exactly what yet.
So Calvin, when y'all look at, that increase, do y'all look at, just setting that aside, or do y'all look at cutting some costs, or? Oh, I'm sorry, okay. We'll talk later.
And if we take budget progressions out 1, 3, 5 years, that's part of the budget, that'll be part of your, budget projections? Is that part of your audit process?
We look at the budget stuff to a degree, but essentially we're ensuring that what happened, what was recorded, is
It's more
recorded
looking
correctly.
backwards.
So it's more correct, yes. Do we look at the budget? Yeah, is there budget comparison included? But the main part of the audit is, as I read in the first paragraph, is to make sure that what's here is, reported correctly, or as accurately as possible.
And our looks more clear, more straightforward, structures, reporting principles, consistent with other cities, better areas
I
for
would say
improvement?
it's towards the top end. I was telling Amber about this earlier. I had a city that had a new finance officer that she was asking me what she needed to get ready for the audit. And I told her I needed the September 30th bank recs. She didn't really know what I was talking about and hadn't done bank reconciliations all year long, which is like step number 1 of any kind of, financial work. Let's do the bank recs. And so, obviously, we're light years ahead of that, and she's actually been asking me to get with her on what we can do to reduce the number of journal entries we have to make, and so that they're cleaner when we get them, which is going to be kind of important because they're enforcing the due date now at 3/31, or it's affecting how you can change property tax rates. And before, if it was if an audit was later for a city, whatever it was, we got it done as soon as we could. But I was getting with her because we're going to need things cleaner earlier going forward to make sure we get things done and out, can promise they're out on time. So I think it's going to work out better. It should only get better from where we are now.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Drive carefully. Any other discussion amongst the council? Laurie, please call the roll. Poll council, sorry.
Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Jamison,
Yes.
Ms. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Hurst,
Yes.
Mr. Daniel,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
and Mr. Ledniski.
Yes.
Item 6, approval of the minutes from the city council meeting held on April 14th, 2026. Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the city council meeting held on April 14th, 2026.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, please poll the council.
Ms. Lucero,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Ms. Jamison,
Yes.
Mr. Daniel,
Yes.
Mr. Hurst,
Yes.
Mr. Ledniski,
Yes.
and Mr. Wilson.
Yes. Item 7, discussion and consideration of motion to approve an application for a specific use permit for the property located at 314 South Joyce, Lacy Lakeview, for an Airbnb. Do I hear a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve an application for specific use permit for the property located at 314 South Joyce, Lacy Lakeview, for an Airbnb, which was, had a typo and it said 312.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? This one's been approved before? Is this a reapproval? Okay.
Mayor, we did send out the required letter to the neighbors with no response.
And there's no, yeah, no agenda, okay, gotcha.
And he requested. You guys got it signed and approved how long?
Yes, I'll do that.
If you'll let him.
Okay. I'd like to amend my motion to approve the permit for 1 year, starting from today, and then,
Second?
Whoever seconded needs to.
All right, Laurie, please poll the council.
Ms. Jamison? Yes. Mr. Rivera?
yes.
Mr. Daniel?
Yes.
Mr. Laniski?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes?
Mr. Hurst?
Yes.
And Ms. Lucero? Yes.
Item 9 is public comment. First person on the list is Pat Bearline. And please state your name and address.
Pat Bauerline, 706 North Barbara. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, city officials. My complaint is the same complaint that I had last time about people parking in their yards. I go up and down the 600 and 700 block of North Barbara almost every day. And on the 700 block, there are now 3 vehicles parked on the sides of the yards. On the 600 block, I have noticed 3, sometimes 4 vehicles parked on the sides of the yard. And if we want to beautify our city, something has got to be done about where people park. Either pave it to get rid of the ruts, or park on the street like everybody else does. And I do have a suggestion. I understand that Mr. Ard is the code enforcement officer. Thank you, Mr. Cardoza. And the city works hours are from 7 to 3:30 or something like that. I'm not real sure exactly what it is. And if Mr. Ard is an at-will employee, why can't his hours be changed from noon to 7:30, so that he is out in the evening where he can observe these vehicles parked in the yards, in the mud, and tearing up our city? I'm going to give you a little history about my gripe. When I moved into my house in 1988, I pulled my 1979 green Thunderbird in the yard to wash it. The code enforcement officer came by and gave me a ticket, and the ticket was $5. I did not have 5 cents, let alone $5. And you scrounge it up and you pay the ticket. I have not seen anybody out giving tickets to anybody for anything since then. And that was October of 1988. So I suggest or request that Mr. Ard's hours be changed so that he will be out in the evening to observe what's happening. Thank you for your attention.
Next item is Tori or Tony? Tori DeBecca? And again, your name and address.
Got it. I'm Tori DeBecca. I live at 3100 North Katy Road. If you're on social media or watching the local news, it is apparent that the data center fight is not a city or county issue, not a state issue, but a national issue. We cannot control what's going on all over the country, but we can control what is happening in our cities, our counties, and our state. All across the state of Texas, cities are trying to sneak in data centers prior to their citizens getting wind of it. And why? Because the city council members know their citizens will not agree with them when it comes to the risk that's involved with the data centers. I have always been told to stand up for what I believe, to do what is right, not what is easy, and to lead, not follow. You as an elected city council, are in a position that allows your actions to speak louder than your words. You have the opportunity to lead your city. The question is, how will you lead it? Will you follow other cities in the state that are secretly making agreements with data centers, ignoring the facts and statistics that are reported and shared about data centers, pretending that there are no health risks that accompany data centers, and putting profit before the people? Or will you have open discussions, including city representatives, key representatives, the citizens that elected you, and the citizens whom this data center affects prior to signing legally binding agreements? Will you, as a council, share facts and statistics found through research, discussions, or site visits openly with each other and citizens at the council meetings? Will you take into consideration the health risks that have been reported by citizens neighboring data centers? Will you put the people first? Be the city that leads by standing up for the citizens and those affected by the data center, not a follower utilizing the antics of other Texas cities. Each and every one of you are a leader, and you will leave a legacy. The question you need to ask yourself as an individual is, what legacy do you want to leave behind? Do you want to be considered a leader or a follower? Do you want to be viewed as a leader for the people or for making a business deal? Do you want the people to remember you stood up and did what was right, or that you did what was easy? Do you want to leave a legacy that you protected the health of those around you, or that you ignored their health? Do you want to be remembered for putting the people first, or putting the profit first? What is the legacy that you will leave behind? Each one of you. Thank you for your time.
Next is Sarah Menarchik. And again, please address and
I have a ball game at Holland, that's why I'm wearing purple tonight. Sarah Menarchik, Ross.
please address, please, for the record.
2797 Ross Road. My property backs up against the proposed data center, and here's the thing I want to talk about tonight. It's InfraKey. First of all, if you followed the social media, Stop the Waco Data Center, you will know that InfraKey has 5 sites that they're proposing. This is not just us talking off the top of our head. This is actual proof that we have gotten from the Attorney General on information that InfraKey has submitted. 5 data centers are their plans. One's in Cleburne, Kaufman, Waxahachie, Hillsboro, and then, of course, Waco. It's also today that I learned about from a state representative that ERCOT now is charging $25 million for the size for the size data center that is InfraKey's proposing. $25 million application fee per site is what it will cost them. That's $125 million. I was also told by this same elected official that InfraKey is still looking for investors. Now, with the new plans and new investors that they are needing, and also, even though it's a $25 million application fee, ERCOT is saying that there's a 5-year hold on new structures to begin, even though the application is approved, all right? So here's my question. It kind of follows what Tori says. We need Lacy Lakeview to realize what's happening, okay? I know you've approved a MOU, 2 MOUs. I know this, but that doesn't mean that you have to follow through with what is going on. You need to look at the data. You need to look at the research that's being done. You need to understand that InfraKey also has an exit plan. they're looking at one of the exit plans is just flipping the property, going through the trouble of getting all the permits, getting stuff lined up, and then flipping the property. You don't know who's coming in. There's so many unknown answers to the questions. One other thing that I came to let you know about, something I read yesterday. Apple is changing their CEOs. Starting September 1st, their new CEO for Apple is actually a senior vice president of hardware engineering. They are predicting AI will be something that they can simply put on a handheld device.
That's 3 minutes, sorry.
Thank you for your time.
And next is Carla Garcia.
My name is Carla Garcia. I live at 2789 Ross Road, and I'm here to talk about the data center. We need to press pause on the proposed InfraKey data center. We already know that the InfraKey data center will raise our electricity cost. That has been demonstrated again and again across the country. However, in addition to our rates increasing, our usage will skyrocket. Why? There's a heat dome effect. A team led by the Department of Computer Science and Technology at the University of Cambridge took data compiled by NASA that studied land surface temperatures from 2004 to 2024. They found that the surrounding areas of land around data centers had an average of 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and in some areas, an increase of 16.54 degrees Fahrenheit. The area that was affected by this increase was over a 6-mile radius. Worldwide, these heat domes affect up to 343 million people. More locally, it will affect citizens in Ross, Golson, Chalk Bluff, Elmont, and everyone else who lives in the 6.2-mile radius of the proposed InfraKey data center. So, in July, August, and even into September, instead of coping with temperatures of 105 or 107 or even higher, we'll be trying to endure temperatures of up to 123 degrees. Does anyone really think our grid can handle that? This will not only affect our pocketbooks, but also public health, our environment, and our livestock. Will tanks go dry from the sustained high temperatures? Please don't make decisions that will adversely affect the physical health of residents, their economic health, and the health of our environment. There are too many unknowns, and much more study needs to be done. We need to press pause on the proposed InfraKey data center. We, the people, do not want or need our health, comfort, environment, and way of life ruined in order to produce more TikTok videos. Thank you for your time.
Last speaker, Mark Dawson.
I am Mark Dawson, 1945 Fort Graham Road. My grandfather was a Baptist preacher, and he once said to me when I was preparing for debate, "Son, moral and ethical points are the hardest to get across, and sometimes it just takes a good story." One of the things I've appreciated about this council is that on 2 separate occasions, 2 different people have spent time with me in explaining to me some of the advantages that are in line for a data center. Some of the advantages, of course, for Lacy Lakeview and the population in general. And one of the things that they said in each occasion was that if you do not take advantage of this opportunity, Waco will. Remember that? And I appreciate that. I appreciate your sharing that with me. Here's the story I want to tell you. When I was a kid, I sold newspapers. And the newspaper building was situated right next to the post office in Forsyth County. And one day we were sitting out there on the steps of the newspaper building waiting for the pressed a roll. And one of the bankers of Corsicana came boiling out of the post office with one of our kids in tow. Now, what you need to understand is that old Elmer had the newspaper and candy concession in the lobby of the post office. Elmer was blind. Well, this guy comes out with this kid in tow, and he rams him up the steps of the newspaper office and barrels into the front door and demands to see the editor. And when he shows up, he said, "This boy just got through stealing candy from Elmer, and I want you to know about it." And the editor nodded his appreciation, and he stooped down and he poured, by now the kid, just an 8-year-old kid, Sammy, I remember this kid. And he was so ashamed he could not get his head up. The guy looked at him and he said, "Is this true, Sammy?" Sammy just nodded. That's all he could handle. He said, "Did you know that the man was blind?" And Sammy just nodded. "Yes, sir." He said, "How could you steal from a man who's blind?" And Sammy said, "Well, Frankie done told me that he was blind and that this was our chance. And if I didn't take it first, he would." Thank you.
All right, next would be council members' input. Anyone have anything to share?
I'd actually like to welcome Patrick Hayes back. So glad you're recovering well, sir, and we missed you, and glad to see you come in again. So thank you for everyone that came in as well. Appreciate every single one of you.
Anyone? All right, meeting adjourns.